Welcome to my next video as part of my 30 videos in 30 days challenge. In today's video, we're going to talk about how using visualization and changing the way that you think can make you learn to change your life or learn new skills. How I was personally able to use this technique, and I didn't even realize I was using it at a younger age, was I got into music at a young age, and my parents got me an acoustic or electric, I had one of each, guitar, and I would go over to my friend's place and we would mess around in their basement. And I always had a vision that I wanted to be a drummer, but I never actually had the physical drum set. And I would just use I had like a hard shell guitar case, so I would just hit on that while my friends would just either play a song we were trying to learn off of an album, usually like a Nirvana, Green Day, Offspring. It's a lot of the stuff I listened to in my teen years. And I always just had the vision. I wanted to be a drummer. I would visualize it. I didn't even realize I was using the technique. And just listening to Nirvana was one of the top bands for me. I was very influenced by them. And I would just listen to Dave Grohl's drumming, or even the earlier work of Nirvana, whatever drummers they had back then. I don't know their names. But I would listen to Nirvana's music, and I would just picture myself drumming it as I listened to it. And I had a deep connection. It was almost like I was meditating to visualize, to change the way I think. And you know how I talk about visualizing our best life and creating our best selves and being that right here and now, being a YouTuber. And just by visualizing and feeling and being it, you are rewiring the brain circuits. You're rewiring the brain and its circuits towards you doing that thing to become hardwired in there. And the more that you practice it every day, the quicker and the sooner you become it. Even if you're not a professional or excellent at doing it, like I said, you have to start somewhere to get to where you're at here and now. You have to have a road to success. So starting it right here and now, even if you're not good, you shouldn't feel any guilt in trying. But back to the music story, just envisioning the drumming, it's almost like I was wiring my brain to be able to, so that my body would be able to know what to do with my limbs the second I was to ever have an opportunity to play on a drum set. And I would listen to Nirvana's music, and it's not overly complicated, but there's a good feel to it. Like Dave Grohl had a really, really good drumming style. And especially on the Nevermind album, which I cranked a lot. Nevermind and In Utero. I would just, as I would listen to those in my cassette Walkman, if you've ever heard of a Walkman, this is even before the Discman came out in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. So I would go for walks or be traveling in the back seat with my parents. And when I would listen to this music, I would envision myself playing it on drums. And I would just daydream about myself playing drums all the time before I even had a drum set. And just the visualizing of me doing the right hand on the hi-hat, the left hand on the snare drum, and my right foot doing the bass drum. Just as I'm air drumming right now, this is a beat that is subconsciously stored in my mind because I trained myself to think that way. And I would know at the end of the beat, I may want to add a fill in there. In the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, it talked about a test that was done on several different subjects. And one subject learned to play the piano, or was physically learning to play some chords in a song for piano. And the second subject just went home and mentally rehearsed the same thing. And the third subject, I'm not sure what they did, if they mentally, I think it was only on 2 test subjects. And when they went to get the test results for both, the person who mentally trained themselves knew how to play the scales and play it better than the person that was physically practicing it all the time. They equally knew what they were doing, but the person who mentally rehearsed it was able to perform it better. I just remember that from the book. So here's an example of that happening in real life, in my own life as a kid, that I had a friend, and oh wow, I got so excited to hear that one of my friends, not even a friend of mine, but a friend of a friend. So I had to wait till my friend was going over to this guy's house so that they could invite me too. And I wasn't even that close or knew the guy very well, but I was welcome to go because I was so passionate about drums. So I was the third wheel. But anyway, we all went to this guy's house, and he had just got this secondhand drum set, but a really nice Tama drum set. And he had a lot, like nice big toms and cymbal rack and everything with some nice big cymbals, and everything seemed big back then because I was just a kid. And just to be standing in front of an acoustic drum set. And this guy was interested in playing drums or taking lessons from people and owning the drums, but he couldn't grasp the concept of even playing a basic beat and being comfortable with it, compared to me, who had been training my mind to have it automatically ingrained that the second I sit down, I'm going to want to do the like the regular hi-hat beat, or the beat you hear on Smells Like Teen Spirit, for example, is just a basic boof, boof, bash, boof, boof, bash, boof, boof, bash. I had that mentally already studied in my mind. And he did a little bit of something on drums it was all right. I don't want to judge and make fun of other people. This is not what I'm about, but it was a little on the weak side. And then the second friend sat down, the guy I was at this guy's house because of, he sat down and played something that was kind of messy and sloppy and that never really hit on a beat, because they just didn't have the understanding of how to put a beat together and actually keep it in time. And it was my turn, and I had never ever played a drum set in my life. And I sat down and I started playing a beat, a regular beat, like I talk about, the Smells Like Teen Spirit beat, a regular 4/4 beat. And it wasn't perfect, it wasn't excellent, but I had what it took to keep a beat. And I remember my 2 friends in that room looking at me and just amazed that is this guy for real? This guy never played drums in his life and can already do this? It is because I didn't even realize I was mentally training myself for that moment. But when you train yourself to be it ahead of time, it just becomes a natural movement, a natural state. And even playing music is associated to being in a flow state where you don't have to think in the analytical way. It's just something that your neural circuits in your brain end up programming. So after that, I fell in love with drums. I wanted a real drum set. So I bugged my parents enough. And they surprised me by that summertime, I think, by my birthday with a beginner Westbury drum set. The rest was history. I learned drums. I learned all kinds of different styles of music, different rudiments, the beats. And nowadays, because you guys know that I drive truck for a living and I'm gone on the road for 3 days a week, if I have to learn a song, I mentally learn the song. I don't need to physically practice anymore because I can visualize what I want to do. So, for example, I play in a cover band. So, if there's a new song that they want to learn in the cover band, they give me the song and I listen to it on my cell phone through my stereo in the truck while I'm driving. And I can visualize myself what I would do when I'm going to actually sit down on the regular drum set. Similar to what I talk about, changing your life, changing the way you think and feel, to being that successful person right here and now. If it's someone that makes videos, runs a business, whatever it is in the field that you are super talented in, that you want to come to life, you have to reprogram the neural circuits that think that you're not good enough to you are good enough. And when you start to train the brain mentally, you start to be able to apply that to real life when the time comes. So just doing that with music, I just found that a very fulfilling story. And I was thinking about it yesterday before I came in and recorded this video this morning, that I talk about visualizing in some of my older videos. I'll even link that at the end of this video, a past video I made about how to use visualization to change your life and the way you think. But that is just an example how I use it for music. I used it to become someone who can speak on camera and make YouTube videos comfortably. I started just envisioning. I even wrote it in a journal, I think roughly a year ago, because we're in September right now. Roughly a year ago, if I go back and look at the journal I started when I got into personal development and self-help and making topics, and I wanted to become someone who could make videos back then. And I wasn't someone making those videos yet. And then I started making them on Instagram, but then there was a fear there. And when I didn't get much engagement or a large following, I stopped doing it. I got down on myself. But you have to keep pushing forward, especially when you first started. You don't have a following built. No one knows who you are when you first start. You have to keep working at your craft to get better, to get more comfortable and become the person that is on an elite level, who is a professional, who can be a coach, who can be a spiritual teacher. You have to live it. Same as being a drummer. When you want to talk drums with other people or sit down and play a beat that comes from complete scratch, and you don't want to be overanalyzing it, you almost want to be in those flow states I speak of in the morning, when you're thinking, when you're being instead of thinking, and you're just in an elevated state of positive flowing emotion. Your state of consciousness is elevated and you're not living in desire, you're not living in anger. in that particular moment, you're living in elevated states that are the more like courage. Courage is a good one. Or even loving and peaceful states, which is way higher up on the scale. But that's the video I wanted to share with you guys today, is talking about how I used visualization at a young age, and I've been drumming ever since. And I'm starting to do a lot more drumming nowadays that I have my home studio set up upstairs. And I thought it was a great topic to use as an example, as I'm helping you discover the best version of you simply by trying to include some form of meditation and visualization, and carrying on those visualizations throughout your whole day, so that you start to think, act, and feel as that successful version of yourself. And then you will subconsciously store that and start to feel it, naturally be it. And then you will start to take action on that path. And your higher self, it will send you the messages and the guidance on what it is you should do next. And look at the people you are very inspired by as a guideline towards how to get started on that journey, and start to take action on it, and have some patience and some trust in the universe and yourself. And just starting is you getting on the right track to elevate your vibe and attract your dream life. So I thank you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the next one.